Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25, speaking about the same as the man of sin. All theologians are agreed that the little horn, the man of sin, and the beast represent the same power. I want you to notice what it says about the little horn. Once again, the idea of tampering with God's holy law. It says, he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and what? And law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time. For how long was this little horn going to carry on his work of attempting to change the times and the law? For time, times, and the dividing of time, which, by the way, is 1,260 years. Now I'm going to tell you why I use those verses to speak about the interchangeability of the word commandments and the word law. Go with me to Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 13. Revelation chapter 12, and we'll read only through verse 14, and then we'll jump to verse 17. It says in verse 13, now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. Who did the little horn persecute? The saints, right? Here it says that the dragon persecutes whom? The woman. So the woman is what? The saints, or the church. And so it says he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. Is that the same period that the little horn ruled? Absolutely. Now let me ask you, do you think that at the end of this period, God was going to raise up a people to correct the intended change in God's holy law? Absolutely. Immediately, I want you to notice that Daniel 7:25 speaks about the little horn thinking or intending to change God's law for time, times, and the dividing of time. Now we're going to notice immediately after speaking about the woman fleeing to the wilderness for the same time period, at the end of that time period, God raises up a remnant. And what characterizes that remnant? They do the opposite of what the little horn wanted to do. The little horn wanted to change God's law, but what does the remnant do after the 1260 years? Notice verse 17. Very clearly it says, and the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the remnant of her seed, who what? Who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Is that the antidote to the intended change in God's law? Yes. See, the little horn thought that he could change God's law, but at the end of that period of the time, times, and the dividing of time, God raises up a remnant of people who keep the commandments of God. A group of people that do not accept this change in the law. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our study, you remember that the expression, keep the commandments of God, in Revelation chapter 14, verse 12, is in antithesis to worshiping the beast, his image, and receiving his mark. In other words, those who worship the beast, his image, and receive the mark are in opposition to those who keep the commandments of God. Now, I want to show you another couple of verses from Revelation that speak about keeping the commandments of God. We read them at the beginning of our study. Revelation 22, verses 14 and 15. Revelation 22, 14 and 15. You know, some of you might be thinking, well, Pastor Bor, you know, what you're preaching is really legalistic. Keeping the commandments, keeping the commandments. Well, folks, take heart. In our next lecture, we're going to talk about faith in Jesus. We're going to talk about the other side of the coin. We're going to talk about how we receive the power to keep the 10 Commandments.